Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. I am going over choosing the correct rod or shield size and also lotion placement. So today on my model, I'm going to be using the Elleeplex ProFusion system. However, I'm going to go over some tips for the One Shot system too, if you use that original One Shot system. And you've probably heard both Kelly and myself talk about it, and some other ladies in the group. It's really not an either or situation with Elleeplex ProFusion or the original One Shot. They're just better for different clients for different reasons. And I'm sure I'll probably do a live on that soon as well. But if you have any specific questions, feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll get to them all at the end. So I'm gonna go ahead and move the camera and get started for you guys. Right, so my beautiful model here is perfect for the Elleeplex ProFusion system. She does have finer lashes, which is great to have ProFusion for that because you know there's virtually no chance of over processing them unless you just leave your tines on too long. So this will be perfect for her. If you haven't tried the Elleeplex ProFusion system, I would definitely recommend it. You can pick it up on the Panoply website. And I have made sure that my sachets are at room temperature. So you still want to store them in the fridge, but you want to bring them to room temperature before you use them on your clients. So I already have my client, her lashes cleansed, her whole eye area cleansed, and then I have her gel pads and tape on as well to keep those lower lashes out of the way. I'm going to show y'all how I measure for my rods and shields. So I have my multi-pack sizes of both rods and shields here. Since she has shorter, finer lashes, I'm going to try the smalls in both the rod and the shield. So typically I would use a shield for a couple different reasons. And we have went over this a few times. I know Amanda Honeycutt did a great video on this recently in the USA Stylist page, and then I recently wrote a blog on it on the Panoply website. But shields I like to use if the client has deep set eyes, if they have hooded eyes, or if they just have shorter lashes. It creates more of an L curl with that bump right there, whereas the rods create more of a C curl. So I'm going to go ahead and measure her out with a rod first. I'm going to place it right here, right against her lash line, and bring every part of the lash line up on the rod to see where it measures. Now typically with the One Shot system, I want to make sure the lashes measure at least halfway up the rod. That includes all of the tiny little anagen lashes that might be that new growth. You want all of it to measure halfway up the rod. So this small rod would work well for her if I were using the One Shot system. However, with the ProFusion system, a tip I have kind of found and Kelly has helped me with is it's actually better most of the time for the lashes to measure more like 3/4 of the way up your rod or shield. So it is helpful to downsize just a touch with the ProFusion system. So if you were going to choose maybe a medium rod with the Elleebana One Shot system, you might want to think about dropping down to a small. As long as the lashes don't come back, curl back, and hit their eyelids, you're generally okay. So I am going to use a shield on this client. I'm going to go ahead and use my adhesive to adhere my shield. I have this squeeze tube adhesive. I'm using Stronghold today because that's what we have in stock. And since I'm going to dispense my adhesive into a glue ring, I'm just going to use one micro swab since there's no cross-contaminating possible then. So I have my glue ring. I'm going to dispense just a little bit of adhesive in there. And with the shield, you always want to paint a thin layer of the adhesive all the way up to these side curves and all the way down to the flat line of the shield. Okay, and that's plenty of adhesive for that shield. So now I'm gonna place it on her right eye over here. A little trick I like to do when placing a shield is just gently pull up a little bit on their eyelid so you can make sure you're exposing the entire lash line. And then you wanna make sure this bottom piece is straight across the eye, not tilted downward or upward. So the best way I find to be able to see that well is to stand up over your client. And you want to hold that in place for just a few seconds before you let go. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Again, painting the adhesive all the way up on those outer curves, and then all the way across the shield here. And it just has to be a thin layer, nothing crazy thick. Especially with the stronghold adhesive, you just have to use a tiny bit of it. Another tip with rod or shield placement is make sure that your rods and shields are bumped all the way in towards the bridge of the nose. And you want, once you've placed them, you want to take a step back, look at them, and make sure they're placed the same. So one of them isn't facing downward, one of them's not turned up. That's going to make a big difference in how your lash lift turns out. Now say you placed a rod or shield and you don't like how it's placed. All you have to do is go in there with maybe a wet cotton tip, some warm water, take it off, get the eye area clean, dry it, and then just replace it. No big deal. All right, and so the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and wrap her lashes. While I'm doing this, we can talk about setting times, processing times for the One Shot system compared to the ProFusion system that we're using here today. And I know a few of you have already asked these questions in the group, and Kelly has all of these times listed on her website, and they'll also come in your kit when you get your ProFusion kit because the timings are a little bit different. So with the One Shot system, our average processing time is usually going to be at that 6 minutes for lifting and 5 minutes for setting. That's typically what we do with the One Shot system with first time clients. However, for the ProFusion system, our average processing time for first time clients is going to be 8 minutes lifting and 6 minutes setting. So you're leaving it on just a little bit longer. Oh, has it? Thank you. Perfect. Thanks, Carly. Sorry, guys. Didn't see that.
For that.
Thanks, Tiff. A little technical difficulty. Got it under control. She's got some trickier lashes out here on the outer corner. So I'm actually going to go in here with my micro swab and just pull them up. And sometimes you'll find that clients' lashes on the outer corner might grow in or maybe even outwards. Sometimes they even get a little curled on those outer corners. A lot of times that's just from sleeping on our side or different growth patterns, but using your micro swab with just a little bit of adhesive on it can help pull them up. All right, moving on to my middle section. And again, I'm always bringing the lashes up in small sections, working with a little bit of adhesive at a time. And you'll see me use all different tools. I really like the sharper precision lash lifter tool to get my lashes exactly in the place where I want them. And I know a lot of other lash artists really enjoy this one. All right, and then I'm going to move on to my inner corner. So back to processing times. Like I said, those are your average times. So the one-shot system, 6 and 5 on most clients. And the Elleeplex ProFusion, we're doing 8 and 6 on most clients for their first time. Now, when you might change those times or kind of decide that you may need some different times is if they have those finer, thinner lashes and you want to make sure you're not over processing. Now with that, the ProFusion system is very lenient. It is really hard to over process with this system because it is so gentle. And it is so gentle because it's formulated to be able to touch the skin when we use it for brow lamination. So the lash lamination system with the ProFusion system is going to be a little bit more gentle than our one-shot system. So then it's more gentle on the lashes, which is what makes it more difficult to over-process with them. Not saying you can't, just makes it more difficult. So if I wanted to drop down with the ProFusion system, I may drop down a processing time of maybe a 6-minute lift and 6-minute setting times. And you can go all the way up to extended times of 9 minutes, all the way up to 12 minutes of lifting time, and all the way up to 8 minutes of setting time. Now, if you find yourself needing that much time to process the lashes, you can actually add a heat source to the eye area with the ProFusion system. So the heat source could be a heated eye pad. You can get those at different beauty supply stores or maybe even some on Amazon. Or you could just use something as simple as placing some dry cotton rounds on the eye area and then a heated towel. Just a warm towel. And that would apply enough heat to the eye area to make it process a little bit quicker. So at that point, you may want to drop down your timing for a couple minutes. All right, I'm gonna get this last section of lashes wrapped on my rod here, or my shield, and then we'll go into lotion placement. So with the lotion placement in the ProFusion system, it's also going to be a little bit different than the one-shot system. With the one-shot system, with the lotion placement, we usually go 3/4 of the way up the lash. But because this system is so gentle, we can actually bring it a little bit higher if we needed. So typically, I go as far up the lash line as I can without ever actually touching the tips of the lashes. Even though it is a very gentle system, you still want to try to avoid the tips of the lashes when possible. And the reason for that is because the tips of the lashes, once we make it to that point, it's kind of just like dead keratin cells. So you don't want to over process that ever. Just gonna double check that all my lashes are wrapped as well as possible. All right, and so now I'm gonna go into lotion placement. So again, I have my ProFusion sachets at room temperature. And my model here today, I'm just gonna do about 6 minutes and 6 minutes on her. So 6-minute lift and 6-minute set with the ProFusion system. Whereas with the one-shot system, I would probably do more like 4 minutes and 3 minutes. So it is just a little bit longer processing times. course, if I wanted to speed that up, I could always add some heat like we just talked about. So I have it dispensed into my 2-in-1 mixing dish here. And then I'm going to use my Elleebana brush to apply. So when applying, I'm still making it all the way down to the base, but avoiding the skin. And I'm bringing it pretty far up the lash line without touching the tips of her lashes. So all the way to the base. Oh, let me clean that area. Want a little AWOL. There we go. All the way up from the base up to just right under the tips of the lashes. And just like with the One Shot system, you want to get a really nice even coating of that lotion to where it looks white, not see-through. So you can see my coating is really nice and even across the lash line, and I'm going to go ahead and start my timer for this right eye for 6 minutes. And I'm going to move on and apply to my left eye. Same thing all the way from the base, just right under the tips. So I'm bringing it further up than I would typically with the One Shot system. And just so you guys know, the Elleeplex ProFusion system can absolutely provide just as dramatic of a lash lift or lash lamination as the One Shot system. Again, it's not an either or. They're just formulated differently, so they work a little differently. I think it's really great to have both of them on hand. All right. So we're gonna let her process for 6 minutes. While she's doing that, I'm going to make sure you guys didn't have any questions. Pull my phone out of here. Okay, let's see. Thanks everyone for joining me. So many of you on here. Thanks, Kelly. What is this silver tool called? Kenzie, are you talking about this one? The more precise one? This one, I just did a blog article on this last week on the Panoply website, so you can check that out. But this one is the lash lifter tool. I can't remember if it's called a precision lash lifter tool. And then this one is also a lash lifter tool. They're both on the Panoply website though. Kelly has them both. Is it normal to experience itching? Are your clients experiencing itching with the adhesive once it's placed, or like at what point? I know sometimes clients can experience some itching from the glue, but you want to make sure your glue isn't expired. So if you have the screw-on top glue, once it's open, it has a 3-month expiration, so you want to make sure you're dating it. I know personally in the past, I've had adhesive used on me before that was maybe just a little bit old, and it made me itch, but I was totally fine once it rinsed. And really the glue is the only thing that should ever be touching the client's skin. So nothing else should be causing any itching, but there could be some other factors that go along with that. What is the difference between the 2-step and ProFusion? Chanel, are you referring to the One Shot system and ProFusion? I'm going to assume you are. So the One Shot system, her original lash lift formula, it is formulated with some different ingredients than the Elleeplex ProFusion system. Like I said before, the ProFusion system was designed so it's not as harsh when it touches the skin when we're laminating brows. So the pH levels are a little bit more normalized to your skin, that sort of thing, which is why the ProFusion system takes a little bit longer to process for our processing times. So really, again, both of them provide excellent results. They're just formulated a little bit differently. Some other aspects of the Elleeplex ProFusion system is with the lashes or the brows, the hairs are gonna start to relax at about 6 weeks. Whereas with the One Shot system, it's more of a permanent lift and curl to the lashes. So those lashes would stay lifted and curled with the One Shot system until it was time for those lashes to shed. That's another big difference. So the Elleeplex ProFusion system you can use to laminate both the lashes and the brows, but the One Shot system, we only recommend using it on the lashes to lift. Oh, Kelly says she always itches. So that could be just like a different kind of skin sensitivity thing. You know, we all have different sensitivity levels and that sort of thing. So that could be a lot to do with it. So it must be pretty common if it happens to Kelly as well. There we go. Yes, so that is the isolator tool. Thank you for the exact names, Kelly. I can't remember them. Isolator tool with a more precise tip. And the lash lifter tool. And Kelly put them both in the comments here, the links, if you guys want to go check those out. This one's normally in your kit when you first begin lash lifting, and sometimes this one comes in it as well. It's just what you're comfortable with. And then last week I just did a video on how to use all of those common tools, so you guys can go check that out. And I also showed you how to use this Y tool. Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna give you guys one more close up just to see some lotion placement on my model here. So you can see it's almost all the way up the lash line to the tips. I'm just leaving the tips exposed. So that is one of the main differences on how we apply the ProFusion compared to how we only go up 3/4 of the way with the One Shot system. So I'm gonna make sure my processing times are right. I'm gonna hop off of here and continue her lash lift. And if you guys have other questions, feel free to drop them below and I will get to them. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.